pretty, you know,
He's
you
giving me good
pushing
help.
70, you know, aren't you?
Not 70.
80?
89. Yeah, I'm 89.
What?
89.
Hey.
I'm right there with James.
89.
I'm 89. Tell him, James. We getting ready to be 89. How you doing?
I'm doing good.
That's good. That's good. Fine, fine. Oh my goodness. I love you. Yeah.
Like all that trick.
Oh my goodness. I'm just saying. You good? Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, we good. We good. Jesus is real. What is that?
Good to see you. It occurred to me when I was coming down here, I was like, oh, I said about 4 months ago.
What you said over
But now, I'm guessing there's a chance. No worries. Okay, no, but it just occurred to me when I walked in and I saw those pictures. I was like, somebody called me up. I mean, honestly, I think like 4 months ago, you called me and said, hey, you can come. But then I told him, until I saw this. You got to take it down out of your living room. You can't take it down out of the fireplace. So that's all right, man. Totally understand. I've never, it's so clear, I've never been on this side.
She said if you start right, you end right.
I've not been on this side. I'm not going to call them up. Hey, 3 minutes ahead when they eat.
I went down. How are you?
Well, that's true.
Why are you talking now? Why are you going to listen to me? council member.
Great, how are you, Oliver?
Oliver, how are you? Good to see you. Hey, welcome, man. How you been? Still gonna be entertaining the celebrity? He's a great man.
You wouldn't do this to your house.
I'm sure they got a lot of articles.
Bless you.
That's all more to pray about it.
What's the phrase? That you bring anything to
My kid, that was hers.
Yeah, I agree with you. No, that's what you choose.
I just asked.
Oh, yeah, she's in there, your person.
It's good to see the meeting still starting earlier during the last 8 years. Just want to make sure that there's some level of consistency.
Yes, that is her name. That's her government name. Say what?
She will tip you off. That's not appropriate. Yeah.
Yes, sir, I did, man.
I worked all weekend just like that.
Really? A friend of mine and his family came to my church yesterday, man.
That's always nice.
Yeah. And they had a great time. Somebody wanted to fast. I'm gonna take care of the time. They had it ready. I'm gonna be ready for Sunday morning. John, tell him. You came to church.
Wait a minute, what's in that cup? That look like creature.
Kind of brown.
That's what they call it.
Huh? Can I get that flu out of you, huh? That bug. Might have to get it. What is it?
You're gonna have a hard time with this
Well, the biggest thing, what was that today, the electrical? Yeah, I think I should postpone that, because I want to talk about Arcadian stuff, so I'm going to probably postpone that and see if we can have some discussion on it. I was told they sent the letter. I didn't see it. It ain't come down. That's why I'm going to postpone it. I didn't see it. We sent one, so I tell you. All right, the meeting of Shreveport City Council has now been called to order. We will have invocation by James Fleury, and Councilman Butcher will lead us with the Pledge of Allegiance. Would you stand, please?
Let us pray. O gracious, kind Heavenly Father, we come today as joining together in this work session to make decisions. And Father, there are those about us that need our prayers, that are less fortunate, hungry, the homeless, the sick, and the afflicted. And we lift up prayers on their behalf. God, now forgive us of our sins, go with us and guide us, and bless this day. In Christ's holy name, amen.
Amen. If you would face the flag, put your hand over your heart, and repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, will you call the roll, please?
Councilman Bradford.
Present.
Councilwoman Fuller.
Here.
Councilman Nicholson.
Present.
Councilman Busher.
Here.
Councilman Fleury.
Here.
Councilman Green.
Here.
And Councilman Ball.
Here. Tomorrow, I entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the council meeting from September 23rd and September 24th. Does any council member have any awards or recognitions at this particular time? Distinguished guests?
I have one, Mr. Chair.
Councilman Green? Sorry.
I'd like to recognize a very good friend of mine with us today, Mr. John Settle. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right. Councilman Nicholson?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to recognize and ask to come forward Chris Holloman, the president of Centenary College.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to speak and am honored to be Councilman Nicholson's guest. I did want to address you on the matter that will come before you later in the agenda today of the proposed liquor store at the corner of Kings Highway and Gilbert Drive. I ask you to profoundly consider carefully your responsibility to the citizens of Shreveport, to the residents of that area. I speak on behalf of myself as a resident of the neighborhood, but also as the president of Centenary College. As you know, Centenary College has been located in Shreveport since 1908, and we have brought thousands of students here from all over the country and all over the world, and many of them relocate to Shreveport. One of the hardest things we have to do right now is that although our campus is, by all statistics, a safe campus, the perception of safety is not there. And as parents drive in and they see the campus and not the campus, but the environment, they wonder about sending their students to Shreveport. I have a student right now who is from the Plano area in Texas, a young man. He's doing great, but his mother says, I'm not sure I want to send my daughter there because it just doesn't seem like a safe campus to me. A liquor store 3 blocks away is not going to help that perception. Furthermore, we have almost 500 students that live on the Centenary campus to give them access. We all know young college students don't always make the best decisions, and to put that resource that we spend so much resources fighting alcohol abuse not fighting, but educating our students about alcohol abuse, and to have that as part of our environment is just not necessary. The neighbors, I assure you, do not want this. Contrary to what's in the MPC report from 2017, there are several liquor stores close to campus, including a Thrifty on Uri Drive. It says in the report that the Super One on Barksdale, Shreveport Barksdale Boulevard doesn't sell liquor. They do, in fact, and this is just not a necessary resource for our community. We are trying so hard. I've been convening a group in my office of Highland, South Highland, Broadmoor civic leaders to try and stabilize and get our community, get our neighborhood attractive and progressive. And this is a step backwards. It is not needed in this neighborhood. It is not wanted. Centenary College is one of the pillars of this community, and you will be hurting one of the great liberal arts colleges in the country, and certainly the only liberal arts college we have here in Shreveport. I encourage you to reject this special use permit. Thank you for the time.
Dr. Holloman, I'll just say I'm most grateful to you for taking the time to come and express your opinion on your own behalf and on behalf of Centenary College. You're of course correct that Centenary is just absolutely one of the city's crown jewels, and it would be a shame to harm that community in any way by locating a liquor store in the proposed location. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilman Butcher?
Dr. Holloman.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
We just moved to Shreveport 3 years ago, so I haven't had a chance.
No. I just wanted to thank you as well for Centenary. I have a vested interest there. My daughter attends there. She'll finish in December. So I know that y'all are very proactive as far as alcohol awareness, drug awareness, sexual assault awareness. And I want to thank y'all for what you do for the community and for the students there. I also think that you coming up and speaking, and speaking of trying to get the community together, and that you're working to try to make the area around it look better. I think that's great, and I'm glad that you're a neighbor in that area and y'all are trying to do that. So
thank you. Thank you. All right. Other questions?
I think that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other council member? Seeing none, I would go to Mayor Perkins if you have any. I just want to speak to my former next door neighbor, Mr. Jenkins, so I just want to say hello to you. I think you're here for something else, but I did want to recognize and say hello to you. All right. Mayor Perkins.
Yeah, a few things, Mr. Chairman. I would like to state for the record that I and Police Chief Raymond are committed to holding our officers to the highest standards. Recently, 2 officers who failed to meet those standards were disciplined following investigations carried out by the Shreveport Police Department. One was fired and the other pled guilty to simple battery after resigning. It's important to call out police wrongdoings, but it's also important to acknowledge when leadership holds officers accountable. This acknowledgement builds more trust between law enforcement and our community, so I wanted to state it for the record today, because usually our attention span and our media cycle only covers the first couple moments of these incidents. So just letting you know that we're committed to holding our officers accountable, and in these instances they have been. We have so much to celebrate here in Shreveport. On a lighter note, this weekend we had the Louisiana Film Prize and the Red River Revel. Locals and tourists from all over the region came to downtown Shreveport to enjoy great food, fun, films, and music. As I always say, there is much to love about Shreveport, and we need to do a better job at celebrating our successes. Lastly, today I have a special guest, the Louisiana Workforce Commission Secretary, Ms. Ava Desjoie. At this time, I would like Secretary Desjoie to come and make a few comments.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members. It is indeed an honor to be here with you all in Shreveport today. I get to visit North Louisiana enough to, they're going to give me a little citizenship card. So it's good to have a South Louisiana girl in North Louisiana. So thank you all. I'd, of course, like to recognize Herman Vital, who heads our local workforce, you all's local workforce development board here, as well as members of my team, Deputy Secretary Kenneth Farrell, and Herbert Dixon, who is our outreach coordinator at the Louisiana Workforce Commission. So we are, of course, your State Department of Labor. We handle unemployment insurance, workers' comp, and workforce development issues. But simply stated, our job is really one thing, to put people to work. So we've been here today meeting with various business partners, community leaders, talking about what we've been doing in the Shreveport area to put people to work. And without taking up too much of your time, I'd like to share some of those things so that you all can tell your constituents, and particularly the business people in your communities, about how we can help move our citizens to economic prosperity and thriving. So our American Job Centers, of which your office is one, we've seen upwards of 17,000 people in our Business and Career Solutions Center. It's in the 10 parish area, which includes Caddo, of course. One of the things that we're really proud of in those offices, because the Shreveport area really leads the state in this, is on-the-job training contracts. So on-the-job training contracts is when an employer is willing to hire someone, but they might not have the exact skill set. The local offices here, Herman and his team, can do an on-the-job training contract, thereby allowing a portion of that individual's wages to be reimbursed for a certain period of time or to a wage cap. And what has this allowed us to do? So I'm going to give you two of the success stories that I'm extremely proud of. One is a young woman by the name of LaGarcia Carter. She came into Herman's office. She was making $9.72 an hour, and with their help, she enrolled in WIO and achieved her dream of becoming a registered nurse. She was someone that came to his office, and she was part of our mandatory work program for those that were on public assistance, and said, you know, this is not where I want to be. This is not what I wanted to do. This is not how I saw myself or where I saw myself I would be at this point. I've always wanted to be a nurse. They made that dream come true. Everyone's path is not the same, and people's paths change and may not always go in a straight line. And I had the pleasure of the weekend before Labor Day having a woman by the name of Tundra Target come to me while we were at an event here in Shreveport, and she said, I know what you're talking about when you're talking about dislocated workers, because I was a dislocated worker. I lost my job through no fault of my own. And I really didn't want to come into the office for what we call reemployment. It's mandatory sessions with the workforce staff. She said, but because of that, I'm a certified teacher now, and she teaches at Bossier Parish High School. These are the lives that your team changes every day. It's how they make a difference, and we're making a difference for those individuals and those companies as well. I'm particularly proud that the Louisiana Workforce Commission is the home to incumbent worker training. I like to call it by Louisiana employers for Louisiana employers. So as a social charge of our unemployment insurance trust fund, and let me give the caveat that Louisiana's taxable wage base is the second lowest in the nation, and our taxable wage rate is among the 10 lowest in the nation, and our trust fund is the 12th strongest in the nation. About 2 weeks ago at Revenue Estimating Conference, the trust fund balance was certified, and the projection for next year puts it at $1,072 million. When it hits $1.15 million, the taxable wage base will be reduced to the first $7,000 of an employee's wage. But what that fund allows us to do, and we have about $30 million in that each year, which is basically the interest on that $1 billion, to train our existing workforce. So here in the Shreveport area, you have to have been in business in Louisiana for 3 years, have to be paying into the Unemployment Insurance Trust Fund, and you are then eligible for training dollars that allow you to expand the skills of your existing workforce. I'm looking for my list, but I can tell you some of them off the top of my head. Libby Glass, Dr. Reddy's, the list goes on and on here in Shreveport that have taken advantage of those training programs. Nearly $3 million just this year in the Shreveport area, and lest we not forget small businesses, the backbone of our community. So please, please, please tell your constituents, we're trying to get the word out. You all know as public agencies, we don't always have advertising funds. We also have SBET, Small Business Enterprise Training. So if you have under 50 employees, if you have 2 employees, if you have 1, and you would like to upgrade the skills of one of your employees, say you have an accounting firm, they need to go and learn new software, whatever it may be, you fill out a 2-page application, send it to our office, it gets approved, the person goes to training, the company pays for the training initially, and then we reimburse you, and we reimburse you within 30 days. So as a state agency, to get reimbursed in 30 days, that's nothing short of phenomenal in the world in which we live. It's good in any world. So there's a lot going on in our offices here in the Shreveport area. Herman's budget is a little bit over $1 million, and then in the surrounding area, they have $1.5 million, and it's of course multi-parishes. We've also been able at the state to supplement those funds through recaptured funds from other areas, and with that money, we created a pre-apprenticeship program for truck drivers, and those people, upon completion, earned wages in excess of $25,000 after a 4-week training. I said when I opened that our job is simple, to put people to work. It's about changing lives and creating new opportunities for all of our citizens, and we are very, very happy to be a part of that. We look forward to working with the mayor and all of you. It's been a great partnership. We're always looking for ways that we can expand, ways that we can do things better, and how we can help more people to obtain their dreams and to help them move to prosperity. So thank you very much. It's an honor and a privilege to be with you, and I'm most grateful. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all, Mr. Chairman.
That's it? All right. Mr. Green, would you come forward, please? Does any member have any questions or concerns relative to property standards at this time? Seeing none, I know we discussed whatever we talked about, so if that's fine, then that's all I had. Okay.
I'm gonna be sending you an email.
All right, we have a collection plan, revenue collection plan report tomorrow.
I sent it just moments ago. It should
Okay.
be in your inbox.
All right. And Ms. Creel, surety bonds,
I will have that for you guys by tomorrow.
okay.
I don't believe there've been any changes from the last
About the
month.
same.
Will we have it by 8 o'clock in the morning, or about what time?
Before the meeting tomorrow.
Before noon or afternoon?
Before the meeting tomorrow.
Okay.
All right, no public hearing. Ms. Jones, will there be any legislation added tomorrow?
We're not aware of any.
All right. We have the following request to speak.
Mr. Bill Weiner.
Thank you. It would take me hours to say what I want to say, but I'm going to hold it under 3 minutes. Tomorrow on the agenda, I would like for you to put me on the agenda to tell you about the need to protect our cultural heritage and our history. Council is doing something now that is terrible. It's going to destroy a significant building that's a part of our history, and it can be fixed. I could go to court and stop it. I've done this 5 times. I'm not going to do that. It's up to you. If you want to protect our history and our city for future generations, please allow me to speak tomorrow on the agenda and not be limited to 3 minutes, so we can take questions and discuss it, and I can answer your questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Winter. Benjamin Boyd.
How is everyone doing? I think the mayor spoke a little on this, but I didn't get the whole gist of it, so I would like to make a statement and then hopefully get an answer to my question. All right.
Councilman, I'm sorry, would you please state your name and your address,
My
sir?
name, my address?
Both, yes, sir.
My name is Benjamin Boyd, 7710 East Kings Highway.
Thank you.
About a month ago, on August the 5th, a citizen of our community was kicked in the head. And I know we probably been over this, but I have to get some clarity because it kind of hurt my heart. He was kicked in his head like it was a football with no less a combat boot. I couldn't believe it. I thought it was back in 1960. The mayor in one of his speeches, and I'm just paraphrasing, he said, we as a city have to get away from black and white and move forward. I agree with that totally. But you know, you won't let us. Somebody won't let us. C.O. Simpkins, Harry S. Blake, Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks, Maxine Sharpey, they put their lives on the line so that people of color wouldn't have to go through getting kicked in the head, beat, and done like this here. But when this happens, we don't have anyone to stand up or be outraged. You know, I talk to some of my people, they say, oh, that happens all the time. Or they'll say, it's gonna be all right as long as it didn't happen to you. All right, nobody is above the law. And I'm glad that we prayed here today. So we got to start having some compassion. And we're not asking no one to do anything that's out the ordinary. What I'm asking here today is that we do the right thing. I don't want you to go outside the law. I'm asking that the right thing be done in this situation, and that it is dealt with. And before I leave here, or maybe someone can just tell me what happened now. And the last thing, if me and two of my friends were to go and kick somebody in the head, our whole life would change right there. Financially, or physically, mentally, our life would change. And I'm just asking that justice be done today and that we do the right thing as human beings and be compassionate. And until we can, and we have to start somewhere and fixing this city. And this is the perfect place to start so that our rights won't be violated, because everybody that's on the police force, to my knowledge, took an oath to obey the Constitution and respect everybody's rights. And that's all I have to say. Thank you very much.
Excuse me, what's your last name? I missed the last name.
Boyd, B-O-Y-D.
Boyd.
Boyd, B-O-Y-D.
I appreciate you coming up and talking about this. I made my comments specifically for, our citizens that are very much concerned about this. I would hope everybody would be.
Yes, because they want to know what happened to him. What?
Absolutely. So that's the reason why I went in depth about what happened to those officers. What typically happens is, the news this will come up in our community to talk about it, but we got to conduct an investigation. So it always seems like we put somebody on leave, paid leave a lot of times, and then we're conducting an investigation, and then we don't revisit when the repercussions come out. So that's the reason why I made sure to revisit this particular instance today. And this isn't like the only time that we're just doing this to talk about it. We're going to continue to maintain that standard in our department. If any of our officers are kicking anybody in the head or using excessive force, we will deal with it accordingly. So that's, for your concerns, that's exactly why I stated it today. And if you want more details about it, Chief of Police is back there, the CAA is back there as well, and they'll be happy to talk to you. But that type of advocacy is exactly what the community
needs. And then I can
needs,
spread the news, because they specifically asked me, it was like, what happened? So I would definitely tell them that and find out what happened today and let everybody know that this has been taken care of, and that we don't have to be afraid of the police, that we can respect the police and look for them to help us in our situations that's going on.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you very much, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Ed Crawford. Very good, thank you.
Tomorrow afternoon session.
Let's see. And we discussed with our Chief Technology Officer that soon we're going to have a place on our online form to indicate which day you want to speak. We're not there yet. I'm going to read your name, and if you're not here, I'll presume that you want to speak tomorrow. Virginia Marks, Blaine Callahan. I believe those are all the requests to speak, Mr. Chairman.
All right. We have the following. We have some appointments to be considered. The following executive.
We have one appointment.
Which is Assistant to Superintendent of Street and Drainage.
That'd be the one yeah, we spoke to him.
I mean, we already talked to him. He's here though, right? I mean, we already spoke to him, correct?
Yes.
Okay. I didn't know if nobody missed it. There are no other items on the consent agenda. And Ms. Jones?
See, under Section B, Resolution 124, a resolution authorizing Christina V. McKay at 1240 Leonard Road to make a connection to the City of Shreveport's water and or sewer system. Under Section 9, Section A, resolutions on second reading and final passage. Resolution 120, authorizing the mayor to accept a donation in the amount of $150,000 from AEP SWEPCO to be utilized by Sportran for the purchase of an overhead fast charging station for the electric bus fleet. Ordinance 121 is authorizing the mayor to accept an assistance to firefighters grant in the amount of $52,181.81 for the FEMA and the Department of Homeland Security to be utilized by the Shreveport Fire Department for the purchase of EMS training aids. Resolution 122 is authorizing the acceptance of a $500,000 National Park Service African American Civil Rights Preservation Grant through the U.S. Department of the Interior, and to authorize the mayor to execute any documents associated with the grant. Resolution 125, a resolution for the certification of compliance with the State of Louisiana Off-System Bridge Replacement Program.
Mr. Chairman, We have a guest, and I don't know if he wants to sit through the whole meeting, but if we could get the clerk's report now, I think that would be beneficial to our guests. So if I could ask that we suspend the rules to hear the clerk's report and speak with our guests, if that's in order.
Is that a motion?
I so move.
I'll second.
Been moved by Councilman Bradford, second by Councilman Green. Councilman Green, to suspend the rule. Clerk's report.
To deal with item number 1 on the clerk's report, Mr. Chairman.
Motion carries with 7.
Item 1 on the clerk's report.
The appointment of Mr. I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you.
No, I was.
I didn't know what, I never voted, I don't know what we were doing.
No,
Nobody
I
said a
was.
word. You don't talk loud enough over there, we can't hear, so I didn't get to vote.
You didn't vote?
No, I didn't vote. I didn't know what we're doing. Nobody said anything.
No, I'm sorry.
I'm being left out of the democratic process in the council meeting.
Can we put a special speaker over there by Mr. Flory? Mr. Chairman, I so order.
Can we re-vote?
No, Mr. Flory, my motion was that we suspend the rules to hear the clerk's report in regards to the appointment to the airport authority. And
I'm certainly in favor of that. That's Oliver Jenkins. I would jump hoops for Oliver Jenkins, but I never heard it. Nobody said anything where this hard of hearing guy could hear it.
Okay.
I was left out of the process, so that's fine. I'm with you.
Can we get a hand vote from you?
Yeah.
Okay. Motion carries with 7.
Please let the record show that I voted to suspend the rules for Oliver Jenkins. I would not want that to show. Thank you.
So, Mr. Chairman, it's customary that we, at least when they appear, even if it's prior to them actually being confirmed, that we will allow them an opportunity to come up and speak, and we'll ask them a couple questions. If that's in order, I would like to request that.
Oh, I think that'll be fine. I didn't know if he wanted to sit through the whole entire meeting, so that's why I didn't ask to bring him up earlier. I know he misses being here, so.
No, I mean, you conduct a great meeting, Chairman, and frankly, the opportunity to sit here and listen for an hour, 2 hours even of your deliberations would just be enthralling for me. So appreciate that, Councilman Bradford. And let me say, I was glad to hear there's a little controversy before I came up here. That just kind of sets the table what I'm kind of used to in here. Mayor, good afternoon. How are you? Good. Okay, well, listen, naturally, I'm excited about this opportunity. Mayor, thanks for considering me. Obviously, I do have some experience both from a legislative standpoint and budgeting piece for, City of Shreveport and aviation experience. Whether that makes me qualified or not, I certainly am not here to debate that. But I'm interested in serving, and so I'm happy to put myself up there.
All right. Councilman Bradford.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And certainly, I guess it's consensus of the council members who know Councilman Jenkins that we really appreciate him offering himself and to the mayor to serve on this board. His talents and his experiences are broad. I enjoyed working with him the last 4 years as co-city council member. So I was wondering what happened, and here he is. So thank you, Councilman. We'll be ready to confirm your confirmation. At least I will. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Councilman Nicholson.
I don't know that I was on the board, but Councilman Jenkins, thank you so much for being here and for being willing to take this position. I had big shoes to fill when I was elected to succeed you, and I appreciate everything you did during your time on the council very much.
Doing a great job.
All right. Mayor Perkins.
I was just gonna say, if y'all want to really upset the former Marine, just tell him he was in the Air Force. And,
my aspirations are much higher. Thank you.
That's a classic.
One other question, Mr. Chairman. Is the vacancy already open?
Yes, we sent out a letter of resignation from one of the airport board members, Mr. Grant Knuckles.
Okay.
So that opened up a vacancy.
Okay, I just wanted to see if tomorrow we may want to consider something else, but.
I'm not sure. I didn't hear you.
They didn't hear you,
And I think
Councilman
mine is a
Bradford.
little bit better than yours, maybe, so.
Mark.
We would like for you to enunciate into the microphone.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
No, I said that, I asked the mayor, was the vacancy, was there a current vacancy? He said yes. And I said, if there was a current vacancy, tomorrow we may want to consider suspending the rules to go ahead and confirm him if that's the wishes of the council. But I was going to ask Councilman Jenkins, how familiar are you with the ongoings now of the airport and the airport authority?
You know, frankly, obviously, I still read the newspaper, and I was involved in some of the leasing discussions in the prior year, and one of my partners does have a hangar at the downtown airport. So I'm fairly aware of what's going on. Do I know the actual minutia? No, I do not. But I understand we're also got finalist candidates for the new airport director. If you did see to acknowledge this appointment and I could be involved in that process, that'd be great. But if it doesn't happen for another 2 weeks, totally understand that as well.
Sure. And certainly I trust, you know, we worked together 4 years, so I trust your judgment, and I know you would do your due diligence and being prudent in your responsibilities at the airport as well.
Sure.
So, thank you.
All right. No, I don't have too much to say. I appreciate your service. That's it. I appreciate having you for my next door neighbor for some years, and some of the knowledge that you brought to help me along the way while I was here at that time, and I'm sure you'll do well on the airport authority. Councilman Fleury.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Oliver, thank you for willing to do this. I know you've been concerned about the price of oil, but it will come back, believe me. But thank you so much for willing to do this. It's we just couldn't thank you enough. Thank you.
I think that's it. Anything else?
No, we're good.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, sir.
And ladies, excuse me. Sorry, the back.
Mr. Chair,
Have a good evening.
Councilman Green.
if it's all right, I'll bring the church handheld mic tomorrow so we can use.
All it is another 2 inches of neck here.
Okay. Ms. Jones, can you continue with introduction of resolution?
Resolution 126 is approving the 2020 Downtown Development Authority Program of Work. Under Section C, introductions of ordinances. Ordinance 135, an ordinance amending the City of Shreveport, Louisiana 2019 General Fund budget. Ordinance 136, an ordinance amending the 2019 budget for the MPC Special Revenue Fund. Ordinance 137 is amending the 2019 General Fund budget for the Fire Department. Ordinance 138 is amending Chapter 38, Housing and Property Standards of the City of Shreveport, Louisiana Code of Ordinances. Ordinance 139 is an ordinance to establish a new Chapter 38.5, Procedures for Abatement of the City of Shreveport, Louisiana Code of Ordinances. The next section is the 2020 budget ordinances to be adopted no later than December 15, 2019. Ordinance 140 is adopting the 2020 Capital Projects Fund budget. Ordinance 141 is adopting the 2020 Riverfront Development Fund budget. Ordinance 142 is adopting the 2020 General Fund budget. Ordinance 143 is adopting the 2020 Retained Risk Fund budget. Ordinance 144 is adopting the 2020 Metropolitan Planning Commission Fund budget. Ordinance 145 is adopting the 2020 Community Development Special Revenue Fund budget. Ordinance 146 is adopting the 2020 grants budget. Ordinance 147 is adopting the 2020 Shreveport Redevelopment Agency fund budget. Ordinance 148 is the 2020 Downtown Entertainment Economic Development Special Revenue Fund budget. Ordinance 149 is the 2020 Golf Enterprise Fund budget. Ordinance 150 is the 2020 Enterprise Fund budget for the airport. Ordinance 151 is the Water and Sewerage Fund budget. Ordinance 152 is the budget funding contractual services provided to sport training by Metro Management Associates. Ordinance 153 is the Downtown Parking Enterprise Fund budget. Ordinance 154 is the Convention Center Enterprise Fund budget. Ordinance 155 is the Convention Center Hotel Fund budget. Ordinance 156 is the Debt Service Fund budget. Ordinance 157 is the Solid Waste Enterprise Fund budget. Ordinance 158 is the Street Special Revenue Fund budget. And Ordinance 159 is the Downtown Development Authority budget.
All right. Any discussion on that?
Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to briefly express my gratitude and appreciation to Mayor Perkins and the administration for presenting us a budget that is in the black. As the public may remember, our budget for 2018 was in the red by several $1 million, and we were able to do that only by rating our already meager operating reserve. I'm not saying, Mr. Mayor, that I might not find a few more things I'd like to cut between now and December, but you and your staff have moved us millions of dollars in the right direction, and I very much appreciate that on behalf of my constituents.
Thank you, Councilman. Yeah, we're putting forth a pretty aggressive budget to get into the black, and although we won't get where we need to be this year, we're hoping by the end of our 4-year terms up here that we can hand over a city government that's in much better health than what we received. So that's the long-term objective.
Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you. Councilman Fleury?
Now, Councilman Nicholson, you scared me with that, the statement there about you might see. Now, you be sure to cut Willie Bradford and James Green. Don't you come down there and be cutting on my stuff.
Well, I'm going to cut to my left and my right, but nothing in my
Don't be coming down here cutting on my stuff.
All right. Ms. Jones, as you continue with ordinance on second reading and final.
As long as I got the school guard job, I'm good.
Ordinance 123, authorizing the mayor to execute a CEA agreement of city-owned property located at 1506 Abbey Street, Shreveport, Louisiana, 71103 in Caddo Parish, to the Serenity Club of Shreveport, Inc., for the purpose of lessee to use it for programs and to maintain the building and grounds. Said property is not needed for public purposes. Ordinance 127 is amending the 2019 budget for the Street Special Revenue Fund. Ordinance 128 is amending the 2019 capital improvements budget. Ordinance 129 is amending the 2019 Community Development Special Revenue Fund budget. Ordinance 130 is amending various articles and sections of the City of Shreveport, Louisiana Unified Development Code. Ordinance 131 is amending the MPC fee schedule for the Unified Development Code relative to fees for wireless communications and facade review. Ordinance 132 is case number 19-344-C, an ordinance to amend the official zoning map of the city's UDC by rezoning property located on the north side of West Burcoons Industrial Loop, approximately 150 feet east of Southwood Drive, Shreveport, Caddo Parish, Louisiana, from C4 Heavy Commercial District to C4 Heavy Commercial District with Small Planet Unit Development. Ordinance 133 is case number 19-386C, an ordinance to amend the official zoning map of the City of Shreveport UDC by rezoning property located between Jennings Street and Woodrow Street, approximately 310 feet west of Sanford Avenue, Shreveport, Caddo Parish, Louisiana, from R2 Multifamily Residential District to IC Institutional Campus District. Ordinance 134 is case number 19-391C, an ordinance to amend the official zoning map of the Shreveport UDC by rezoning property located west of Lakeshore Drive, approximately 380 feet south of Deal Creek Drive, Shreveport, Caddo Parish, Louisiana, from NA Natural Areas District to Single Family Residential District.
Any discussion on that?
Mr. Chairman.
Councilman Nicholson?
Mr. Chairman, case number C-10217 concerns a proposed issuance of a special use permit for a liquor store at the intersection of Gilbert and Kings. It is in my district, but it is surrounded on three sides by Councilwoman Fuller's district. I just want to point out first to my colleagues on the council and to the members of the public that a liquor store is not a use by right in a C2 zone. The request that comes to us is for a special use permit, and in particular to have a liquor store immediately adjacent to a residential area in my neighborhood that will be open from 8 a.m. to 12 midnight, 7 days a week. It has been suggested on the news and elsewhere in the course of the discussion of this liquor store that the council in the past has sometimes approved liquor stores in parts of town where it shouldn't have, has been willing to place liquor stores near residential areas in less affluent parts of town. And I think that's right. I think that the council in the past, in some cases, has been too ready to approve liquor stores in residential neighborhoods in parts of town where they have brought all the harms that we know liquor stores bring with them. And so I'm going to ask my colleagues to join me in refusing to issue this liquor store permit because of the harm it will do to this neighborhood in my district, because we have received the signatures of more than 1,000 citizens to express their opposition to this liquor store. But in conjunction with that request, I make this promise to you: for as long as I serve on the council, I am going to consistently oppose the placement of stores that sell hard liquor in areas adjacent to private residences. I just don't think they belong there, and that's true whether you're talking about an affluent neighborhood, a poor neighborhood, or anything in between. So I do appreciate the opportunity to make those remarks, Mr. Chairman, and I ask for my colleagues' consideration on this matter. Thank you.
All right. Councilman Bradford.
Mr. Chairman, I certainly appreciate the councilman's sentiments. But I want you to know that out of all the applications that have come before this council since I've been on the previous council, this applicant has been treated the most unfairly. The most unfairly. This has been litigated, and it was litigated thoroughly in the sense that the applicant runs a very, very replicable business. This is not the typical liquor store that you think that are littering some inner city communities where loitering and drinking is allowed on the premises, where a lot of undesirable activity occur. The owner of this establishment, proposed establishment, who has been patiently for 2 years waiting for a decision from the courts, to only find out that the courts remanded it back to this body, who has spent thousands and thousands of dollars in litigation that he was drawn into for no reason of his own, other than there was some parties and entities that put up the resistance. Now, when we voted on this 2 years ago, it was a tie vote, 3-3, when the councilman was out. I immediately asked that we will reconsider this at the next meeting. It was the city attorney who said that the tie vote upheld the ruling of the MPC, who had said that that the special permits usage could be awarded. And it appears that 2 years later, the courts have the same opinion that we should have reconsidered that at this body, at this level, and it would have never been drug out for 2 years. Now again, this establishment, proposed establishment, there's the owner operates one store. He's an African American. He operates one store, and out of all the liquor stores in Shreveport, he's the only African American that owns and operates a liquor store. And again, they're flooded throughout inner city communities, but his store that he operates now and the store that he proposed to operate would be a first-class operation. He gives back to the community through various entities, nonprofits, where he sponsors at-risk kids and other entities that provide wholesome activities for young people. And I just think it's wrong for us not to give this gentleman an opportunity to operate a store, to make a living. He has been deprived of that for 2 years. I can only imagine the financial burden that he has suffered because of this error from the council and from the courts to allow this to linger for 2 years. And now we have opportunity to grant him this opportunity, and we are in denial. Now, I am very sympathetic to everything, even the president of the college that came forward. And oftentimes we heard it. I think there's been at least 4 liquor applications that has been approved in underserved communities that was put there. We heard the commentary. We got the same type of responses through our email and letters. And a lot of that fear came not to be. You know, I mean, somebody once said that the only thing we have to fear itself. But I think as the government body of this city, we should be very consistent in providing economic opportunities for our citizens, especially those citizens who have proven to be worthy of our support. This gentleman has been very worthy. He has been reputable. He have not had a violation. Not one violation has been levied toward this establishment since it's been open. That means something. That should mean something. Now, this location is not, in comparison to some other liquor store establishment, is not within the confines of the neighborhood. It's on a thoroughfare. It's not directly in neighborhoods like there are in Motown and in MLK and in Cedar Grove and in Allendale. This is on a thoroughfare. He won't be selling chicken wings. Okay. He is a reputable business who pay taxes and who provides a service to the community. And I said, and I say it again, when it comes to these type of establishments, let the market determine. If it's not a perfect place for that business, then the market will determine that. But I think to not allow him the opportunity and deny him the opportunity after 2 years would be an injustice. It's not fair. Like I said earlier, out of all the applications for this type of establishment, this one disturbed me the most because we have not been fair with this gentleman. So I'm going to ask that you support and allow the special use permit to be granted for this establishment. Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Bradford, for those comments. Yeah, let's go be I think this is gonna be, let's just say different. That's the best way I can put that one. On one hand, you try to do what and be consistent on doing what we've been doing in the past, and then two, you try to go along with what the citizens in that particular area want, and sometimes you get put in limbo, I believe, and at the end of the day, I just think we should do the right thing. So just leave it at that. Where are we next? Down to, we don't have any table legislation?
We have none.
I did want to make sure that I want to speak about the other appeal case that we have. I want to see what I need to do to, and we can speak on it after the meeting if that's appropriate. I just want to.
Do you want me to just state, the chairman came earlier and asked about postponing the Acadian ambulance decision. I went and looked at the section 46-70 of the ordinance, and it says the city council shall hold a hearing to consider the appeal within 30 days after filing of the appeal. And the appeal was filed on September the 17th, and the 30 days will be up on October the 17th, which is before the next meeting. So I don't know, it says you shall hold the hearing. You don't have to make a decision at that time, but I think the ordinance is pretty clear that the hearing has to be held within 30 days.
Okay. All right. Put that tomorrow. All right.
Within 30 days after the hearing.
I thought there was something else. Okay, that's it?
No.
Okay, I'm sorry.
We're on the same page.
All right. And we have the MPC appeal tomorrow. You got to do this case tomorrow?
What was that?
I thought we postponed it. Okay, until the 22nd, all right. And, back to the, are there any other appeals then, Mr. Thompson?
We have the appeal, that's all for tomorrow. There are two appeals for tomorrow. One is the Acadian Ambulance Service, and the other is the MPC case number C-102-17, which there have been a couple of comments on. So the other appeal that we have will not be until the next council meeting.
Okay. Are there any reports from officers, boards, or committee? Seeing none. Would that conclude your clerk's report, Mrs. Thompson?
There were two items on the clerk's report. One concerning Mr. Jenkins, and you have all heard from him. The other, we received a letter from the mayor to remove James Pannell from the Catawba Port Commission. And that will be on the agenda for the next meeting.
And that's, when you say that's tomorrow, correct? Councilman Bradford?
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Mr. Mayor, I trust, after conferring with the commissioners, that you concur with their reasoning for asking to remove Mr. Purnell?
I do, Councilman. This is something that was brought to us some time ago, and I told them to, be patient, be diligent, with how you go forward with this, and it reached a point to where they couldn't. It started to disrupt their meetings and the productivity of the port, which is a huge economic anchor in our community, very significant to our community. But it got to the point where it was just disrupting business, and a huge majority of the board members all said that it would be better if he was to be removed. So yes, after talking to most of them, after seeing the note that they wrote, I agree with them.
Mr. Mayor, and I just conferred with the city attorney, I got a call from Mr. Purnell. Mr. Purnell's a friend of mine. And Mr. Purnell said to me, and I think he's intending to be here tomorrow, he's saying that that this is a retaliatory effort, move against him for exposing some wrongdoings at the port. Now, I just conferred with the city attorney, and I think his intent is to come before the body and try to express or to share some of that wrongdoing.
Mm-hmm.
She suggested that this is not the venue for that.
No, it's not. It's not.
So, I mean, but we can't censor him or muzzle him for 3 minutes.
Yeah. No.
Okay.
But we can contain his presentation too. You know.
Well, Mr. Chairman, you're the chairman, so
Right.
that's you. That's your judgment.
Right.
Okay. But I'm just saying that I don't know where this going to go or where it will go. Mm-hmm. But I just want to be cautious. I think the body has to and understand what's at stake here, the preview of what their responsibility are in doing this. But I just want to be careful tomorrow if Mr. Purnell chose to come, that whatever expression he want to make against the port, that he would be made aware that this is not, we have no oversight over the port except for who we confirmed. That's what three appointees that you have. Is that right? Mm-hmm. So who? I mean, maybe we can do some research and find out who would he go to vent his concerns.
And that's what I was going to say. I mean, he can go to the state ethics boards. He can go to law enforcement. It depends on what his accusations are. But it's interesting because that's one of the things that the board members said that they kind of took them past their breaking point was the accusations that he sent towards each and every board member at every meeting and how disruptive he was. So I don't doubt that he'll be here tomorrow, and I'm sure he'll voice his opinion about things, but this body isn't the body that he should be taking up those issues with. And I'll also be asking the council if we can suspend the rules in order to expedite this so that we don't have multiple council meetings where we're dealing with the same thing. So I hope everyone takes that in consideration tomorrow so that we can go forward. And the last thing I want to say is that this is quite the exception. I oversee the appointments on dozens of boards throughout the city. This is the first time, and personalities, people don't get along with other board members occasionally, but this is the first time I've received a letter from all but one board member saying that this person should be removed, stating, with various causes attached to that. So I wouldn't be doing this to Mr. Parnell had there not been, exceptional circumstances, and that's what we'll be faced with this particular instance.
Thank you, and I appreciate that. But I just had a thought that a new standard to be established that if you don't want somebody, you get everybody to agree to kick them off the board. I don't know if
that's a hard standard and a high bar to meet. Just imagine if the council had to get
we felt that way before. We felt that way before.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a pretty high bar to meet, and I'm okay with that standard going forward. I don't, especially when you consider the diversity of that board. You have appointees from Shreveport. You have appointees from the parish. You have appointees from Bossier Parish and Bossier. So it's no homogeneous block. That's a natural homogeneous block. Everybody's coming to that board with various experiences, coming from various organizations and represent various organizations with various interests. So for them to rally around one issue and think that it's for the well-being of the board to remove a member, I think that speaks volumes about this particular situation.
Okay. Mr. Clerk, is this a two-reader?
No, I did not put it on the agenda, but I went back and looked at the rules, and I think the rules are silent on this. It talks about confirmations of appointments, but there is nothing about taking somebody off of a board. So you would have to suspend the rules to, or maybe even, it's not really on the agenda. So I guess it has to be added to the agenda.
Which means it'll be subject to public comment.
Yeah.
Mr. Bradford, would you yield, please?
Yes, sir.
With the city attorney, did she have get an opinion from the Attorney General
An opinion specifically about what?
about this, having to, put this on there on the removal letter?
No, sir, I
Does the
wasn't.
charter require us to vote on removal?
The legislation indicates that it has to be confirmed, that the removal has to be confirmed.
That's what I'm asking, yeah.
By the council. I did not request a AG opinion on this because one had been previously issued dealing with that issue.
But you did refer to the Attorney General.
I did.
That's what, okay, that's what I mean. And it says that.
Yes, that it has to be confirmed by the council now, and I would agree with Mr. Art in the sense that because the ordinance and the charter is silent to that, I would suggest that you take the same procedure that you would to confirm somebody as you would to remove them.
Councilman Bradford, are you expecting any type of violence you might want to protect Councilman Green down there?
Oh, I got his back.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, we okay. We okay. Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want us to be in order when if we have to deal with this.
Okay.
Because there is some emotions at the port, and I don't want it to blow up in this chamber. Okay.
Right, and that's what I was speaking on earlier. And I say I have allowed emotions to overflow in here that probably shouldn't have in the way that they have recently, and I've expressed that, and I've, just as recent as the past council meeting, I owe this body and I owe Chief Raymond an apology for some of the outbursts that we've had in the past, and as long as I'm sitting here, I don't want to tolerate or have that to go on anymore. People taking their frustrations out to the wrong. This is not the place for certain things. So that's what I was saying. Yeah. That's it.
I agree, Mr. Chairman. At the same time, there are rules,
Right.
and I think the clerk has expressed to us before that certain things could be said, but the insults and name calling of council members is not one of those. Some of those. So,
Okay.
But I don't want to violate his First Amendment right to say what he want to say.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Councilman Green,
does it mean we're gonna have a heated meeting tomorrow?
we're going to have a great meeting tomorrow.
Thank you.
No executive session. Is there anything else from anyone else? Seeing none. Meeting's adjourned.
I didn't get my R out, Mr. Chairman.
Put you all first.